Hello, this is Chris Duncan at Find Your Focus Photographic Education, and today I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to get the lighting where you need it and also keep a nice clean composition that you want. Right here I have this senior on our tech campus here in Lubbock, Texas, and I really like this composition, but you can tell the lighting's not really good. The sun's coming in from our left to right and it's really hard, so I need to put some light on her face. And so what I had to do is I moved Deanna, assistant, in there with a speed light and our little softbox. I'm going to focus that light right there on her face. Now the problem is, now Deanna's in the photograph. So this is real easy to do. I'm going to give you a couple quick steps to do this. First of all, you need to be using a tripod. If you're not on a tripod, it's going to be so much more difficult for you to accomplish this. So I set up on my tripod, I got my composition the way I wanted it, locked it down, moved Deanna in there to light her, and in Lightroom, I made all my adjustments, my raw adjustments in Lightroom. Brightness, contrast, saturation, any of those you want to do. Do not crop or do any type of lens perspective in Lightroom at this point if you want to do that. That will further complicate your alignment here in a second. So do any of your basic adjustments, tone curves, color and saturation, but you want to probably leave your vignetting, any graduated filters, spot correction, or lens distortion correction until afterwards. Then you'll take a photograph of just your scene without, you can leave your model in there, but make sure you move your lights and sync these together in Lightroom. So I'll take that one, I'll hit this, and of course I hit sync, and I want to sync all of my things together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit in Photoshop. Okay, I've already done these in Photoshop, so I'm not going to go through that process again, but you want to make sure you edit in Photoshop. That will then open your images up in Photoshop. So we have this image and this image, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to drag this image on top of this one. And you can see that we've done that right there. Now my background layer down here, I need to double click that and make it its own layer. So I'm going to just do that real fast for you. Make it a layer. Okay, so now I have two layers. If it's a background layer, this won't work. Select both of these and hit this button at the top that says Auto Align Layers and click OK. And it's going to run through its process of aligning these layers based upon content. If you do any geometric distortion or lens perspective, it's going to have a hard time trying to align them because a lot of times it will distort these images on its own to make sure all the pixels align. And that's why I recommend using a tripod. If you're not on a tripod, this is very difficult to do. And we're just going to let this run here for a second. Hopefully it'll go quickly. And I've tried dragging these in and doing the opacity and doing it myself. This little button for almost 99% of the images works just fine. So be careful also that you don't adjust your focus, your exposure, or your zoom if you're using a zoom lens. Just take the image with the lighting in there, get the way you want, and then have everybody leave and take another one, and then you can move your camera to go on to another scene. Okay, so you can see that we've dropped it in there. There's our image. There's our blank one we topped on. Just going to put a layer mask on here. Get a brush, hit B, and I want my brush to be about the size of my subject. So you can see how I size this brush to my size of my subject. And just brush her in where she needs to be. If you want to do some fine tuning to remove that person in the back, you could do that at this time too. So I can zoom in just a little bit. See, there was a person in the background when I took that other image. So I'm going to invert my brush, make it a little smaller, and then I can take this person out to my original. And they just line up seamlessly. It works so nice. So anyway, that's a quick and easy way to take your subjects out. And then what I do is I will flatten this layer and I will go ahead and save it. It's going to throw it back into Lightroom. I don't want to crop or do any perspective yet. I like to do that in Lightroom. I don't need to save this one. And then back in Lightroom, you can see it stacks them together. So I have this image and then that one. So here in Lightroom is where I'll do my cropping. If I want to do any cropping, I don't like the street. and I can get my perspective and everything I want. This is where I'll do any straightening. Then I'll put my vignette on it in here in Lightroom, or I could do that back in Photoshop. But I want to just make sure I do that after I merge the layers and brush them out. Otherwise, it's going to be harder to align. So anyway, once again, this is Cris Duncan at Find Your Focus Photographic Education, and thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.